What if I told you there was a game where you're the only guy on a ship full of nothing but females of all different types of alien species? Sounds pretty cool, right? Well, welcome to Funkelregen. Hi, I'm Tom, and this is Adult Game Reviews. This week I take a look at the in-development VN Funkelregen by Janamus Sura. I played .6, which is the most recent version. At first I thought this game was about a German funk band, but no. Thankfully, it's very different.
Funk.
Funkelregen is what you get if Star Trek, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Loki all had a baby. Honestly, I could throw even more combinations in there, but all that is to say that this is heavy sci-fi. It took me about 10 plus hours to play through the current content, but before I start rambling, let's get into the premise. You play a fresh new graduate from Starfleet, the League of United Systems. You are a pilot on an experimental spacecraft known as the Funkelregen. You are a small crew of 9 to 11 where you were the only guy. To put it in perspective, there are some ships with tens of thousands of crew members, so yeah, it's comparatively small. There is so much lore. My biggest criticism early on was the crazy amount of lore dumping, which was just too much in my opinion. It felt like my brain was frying from too much info. Luckily, the developer removed a lot of the excess lore and moved it all to the codex, which was a good choice. Okay, let's get into the visuals. But first, please like the video if you like it and subscribe for more AGR content. It really helps out the channel, and it gets you more content. Visually, the game uses Honey Select 2, but it can still look a bit dated with the renders and character models. There are animations, and some you can tell took a long time to create, like when the ship is docking at the space station called the Legistor. These little animations were pretty impressive. However, the character models for some of the alien races were disturbingly thin. Hey, I'm not opposed to thin characters, but many just didn't look right.
A crack in the floor.
This for me was the biggest issue I had with Funkelregen. However, even though the visuals were dated, I do think this variety with the aliens set the tone and atmosphere for the VN really well. There is music and sound effects. The sound effects were well done and the music set the tone. During important moments, the music shifted. All in all, very, very solid. Now let's get to the story, and holy crap, this is legitimately the best world building in any VN I have ever played. I dare say the world building is better here than even in games like Eternum. This is a personal preference thing, but games like Tales from the Unending Void and Project Passion, you spend way too much time off of your ship. I personally love space travel games. In Funkelregen, you spend 99% of the time on your ship, which I would rather have that over the alternative. You have free roams on the ship where you have to do certain quests at certain times. There's a little heart next to the characters to indicate a story quest is available. There's a mystery on the ship with a little stowaway, some time travel, and you have to figure out the true nature of the Funkelregen. I enjoyed the story quite a bit. For me, it wasn't specifically exciting, but it was really interesting and it made sense with the lore of the game. You can check out the in-game codex, which has more info about the universe than you get in most games in total. If I'm going to criticize the story at all, it's that some of the middle chapters can drag a little bit. You're just building relationships with the other crew members and slowly exploring the mystery of the Funkelregen. I didn't mind this, but it's really up to personal preference. By the end of my playthrough, a lot more happened which got me re-engaged, but I'm not going to spoil it here. The alien races themselves are very unique, and I can't show them all here due to, let's just say, cultural differences in how they dress.
Rarity? What are you wearing?
However, due to a couple of races' very thin character models, I tended to be drawn towards some of the thicker crew members like Sabrina or Lintar. Even though personality-wise, I really enjoyed the psychic Sarla and the shy human Rachel. I just need a little bit more meat on those bones, if you understand.
Sure, she's skinny, but she's thick through the trunk.
To unlock the next parts of the story or even the characters' quest lines, you need to build up your relationships, and that is done through a point system. Most choices in the game are relatively easy to figure out which was the best option, but there were a few choices that had me picking between a few different characters, which was pretty difficult. Okay, let's talk about the spicy content. I would say that there is a relatively frequent spicy content, but it takes a while to actually hit a home run, if you get my meaning. So there were a few times the VN felt like a slow burn in that way, but there were other times where quite a few scenes happened in succession. So this actually depends on your relationship with the girls and the choices you make. I kind of viewed it being pretty average in the amount of content. With the character models being so thin, sometimes the content could be a bit disturbing, but maybe that's just me. So what do I think? Heavy sci-fi is just so niche, and with dated renders it gives a pretty polarizing look. As the renders and character models improve, I think the VN would take a leap in quality because the story is very in-depth. The characters were all interesting to get to know, and you get to spend a lot of time on your ship. For you, you have to decide if there's anything here that is a deal breaker for you. I will absolutely jump back into Funkelregen when it completes because I want to see how the story ends. If you're interested in playing Funkelregen, you can get it off of itch. I will put a link to the Patreon in the description. You can also play Funkelregen on Windows, Mac, and Linux. I want to thank all my backers, and if you haven't seen my first impressions video of Office Perks, you can check it out right here. Thanks again. Until next time.